Hi. I feel like I haven't seen you guys in forever. I'm so sorry. It's been a busy 3 months, so I'm coming up on my 3 months officially selling LuLaRoe. So this is going to be my 3 month update to you guys, as well as kind of just like some, what to expect when you are starting out as a consultant. So some tips and information regarding, what to expect. So I can only speak from experience, and everyone's experience is different. So I'm going to share some things about my first 3 months and, some takeaways that I got from that, and hopefully it's helpful to you. So let's just dive right in. I have notes because, I tend to stray off track sometimes. So let's talk about the first thing, the biggest thing for me that was a little rough in the beginning. When you first start as a consultant, you can expect to have very little sleep. So if you are really trying to chase this down, so if you're really attacking it and really wanting to build your business and wanting to make this a real viable option as far as a career path goes, you're going to hit the ground running and you're going to go nonstop in the beginning, and you're not going to sleep or eat for that matter. The first month of selling LuLaRoe for me, I probably averaged about 4 hours of sleep a night. And I was lucky if I ate one meal in any given day, much less more than that. If it was more than one meal, I was doing good. I call it my Lula diet because I definitely lost some pounds that first month. It's not the healthy way to lose weight. I do not recommend it. I would highly recommend setting an alarm for yourself or having some accountability with the people in your life who will remind you to stop what you're doing and eat, because you're so excited in the beginning. And I was so excited to be doing my sales and doing my invoicing and packaging and, answering questions of customers who were asking me questions and, so much. And all I wanted to do was LuLaRoe. That's all I wanted to do. And so the rest of it was oh, who needs sleep? I can stay up till 4 in the morning working on this. No big deal. Who needs to eat breakfast? No big deal. I'll just eat later. And then later turns into later, which turns into tomorrow. And all of a sudden I'm going to bed and I haven't eaten anything. So that is, I know I'm not the only one. So I've talked to a lot of my Lula sisters, and that happens a lot in the beginning. You feel like you're just going, you're burning the candle at both ends. The thing I would encourage you in is just not to let yourself burn out too much. And I think I did talk about this in one of my earlier videos, maybe my 1 month video. Just don't let yourself burn out. So I got to the end of my first month and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so exhausted. I can't do anything more. And I had to take some time off. I couldn't even, I don't know. I had to really stop and kind of regroup and figure out what am I doing? Is this, is this healthy? Is this something I can sustain for any length of time? And for me, the answer was no. And so I had to, kind of restructure my system of how I was doing everything. And, in the beginning, it's okay that you're working so many hours and you're working so hard and you're exhausted. Of course you are. Everything you're doing is new. You're experiencing this entire process for the first time. So everything's going to take a little longer. The first time I invoiced and shipped, I think it took me, for, 30 pieces, somewhere around 30 pieces, I probably invested 8 hours worth of time into just invoicing and shipping those 30 pieces, which is kind of ridiculous. But it's normal for in the beginning. I didn't know any better. It wasn't ridiculous for me because I was learning, and it was, it was a learning curve. So now I can knock out 30 pieces in, a couple of hours, no big deal. But it was definitely a stretch in the beginning, and everything took longer than it does now. So it will get better. That's what I want to, encourage you in, is that you can expect when you first become a consultant, if it's something that you're waiting in the queue for, or if you're thinking about signing up to do this, in the beginning, you can expect to lose sleep for sure. You're starting a whole business and you're a one-man show. So of course you're going to be investing an exorbitant amount of time into getting things off the ground. But eventually you'll find rhythms, you'll find a system, you'll find a schedule that works for you. And, those things that took you hours and hours to do before will take you less time to do. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I can say now that it's been quite a while since I woke up and said, oh man, I didn't get enough sleep because I'm just working so much. I'm sleeping regularly now. I'm back to my at least 8 hours of sleep a night. And it feels wonderful. I'm not going to lie. Okay, so that's the first thing is, just be prepared that you're going to lose sleep. You're probably not going to have a lot of time for extracurricular things in the very, very beginning. And it's always up to you. You know, it's up to each individual what they want, where they want to invest their time. For me, I quit my job right away. I knew this is something that I really wanted to invest full-time effort into. And so I did that. And I'm still putting full-time hours into this, just not like 3 full-time jobs worth of hours. Now it's like 1.5 full-time jobs worth of hours. So it does get better, I promise. Okay, so there's that. Let's talk about team support a little bit. So when I was waiting in the queue to onboard, I was so fortunate to be, you know, part of this amazing team of women who just poured into each other and supported each other and encouraged each other. And that didn't end once I moved over to the other side and started selling as an active consultant. So, you know, because I forged those relationships early on, I had all of these friends, these new friends who knew what I was going through, who had been there and done that, or who were there and who were doing that I could lean on and, you know, go to with questions and ask for support from. Of course, I have my sponsor who's amazing. Fern is like, amazing. She's incredible. So great. And I couldn't be where I'm at without her, for sure. She's such an encourager. She's such a challenger. She challenges me to stretch myself, which I love. I need that. But, you know, she's one person and she has many people beneath her, many women that she's sponsored that she's taking care of and she's helping. And I can't, you know, it's not fair of me to even try and rely on her to answer every question I have, or anytime something's not going the way I want it to go, you know, expect her to just be at my beck and call. So I have this amazing team of women that I can reach out to on any given day. And, you know, out of 20 women, somebody's going to have an answer for me. Somebody's going to have, you know, a word of encouragement for me, or 5 minutes to chat on the phone with me, or whatever it is that I need that day. And I'm there for them in the same way. You know, I have friends, like real friendships that I've made in this business just since, you know, joining this team, that I can't imagine my life without these women. And we talk on the phone regularly and we bounce ideas off each other. And if we're not on the phone with each other, we're on Facebook Messenger with each other, you know, every single day. And that's fantastic. And those women have helped my business so much, not only in terms of sales, because a lot of them have shopped with me. So thank you, ladies, friends, for shopping with me. But not only in terms of sales, but also in terms of just, you know, building my own self-esteem, encouraging me that I can, you know, do something that I'm nervous about doing, or giving me advice about something that I'm not good at doing, and maybe helping me tweak things in a way that is fruitful. So that's been a huge blessing, huge blessing. So I would encourage you, if you are a consultant, if you're just starting out, or if you're in the queue, or if you're thinking about doing this, wherever you land on that spectrum, get involved with your team, not just your sponsor. And if you're thinking about doing this and you're trying to decide who to ask to sponsor you, then my advice to you would be, whoever you reach out to say like, hey, would you consider sponsoring me? Make sure you have a conversation with them before you actually commit to them being your sponsor. And in that conversation, I would recommend asking them about their team, not just the people that they've sponsored, but also who they were sponsored by and what that larger team looks like. You know, is there a Facebook group where all of them are, that, you know, they get to interact in a private environment like that? Is there regular team meetings, where trainings where, you know, people come together and share ideas and, you know, help encourage each other in that way? You know, ask those questions and find out, because that really does make a difference. Your sponsor and your team do not define your business, so they don't define your success, but it definitely helps to be connected to a network of women who know the business, who know what you're going through, who can, you know, be your cheerleaders when you do some great things, and who can be your encouragers when you need that as well. So I would definitely say that that's been a huge part of my success these past few months, is having that team that I can rely on, and they're amazing, the most amazing group of women. So also, let's talk a little bit about something else that happened throughout my first 3 months, and something that you can expect as a consultant right from the get-go. It's kind of the elephant in the room if you are in the queue, or if you're an onboarded consultant. This is something that comes up a lot in conversation in our consultant chat groups and team meetings and things like that. So I just want to address it a little bit, because I think it's worth addressing. So in the beginning, when I got my initial inventory, I had in my initial inventory several pieces, several's not even the right word, many pieces that I got duplicates of. So in other words, if I had a large gray Nicole dress, a large heathered gray Nicole dress. I did have that actually, and I kept one for myself. If I have a large gray heathered Nicole dress, I had, let's say in my initial inventory, I got one of those, but I actually got like 4 of those in the exact same size, exact same color. It's an identical dress, and I got 4 of them. So the cool thing is LuLaRoe makes everything in limited quantities as far as their prints and colors and all of that. But that doesn't mean you're never going to get more than one piece that is the same print in the same size. It's going to happen. It's absolutely going to happen as a consultant. And it's not a bad thing at all. So I can tell you this, and I hope that it's encouraging for you. When I got my initial inventory, I had 3 bins full of duplicates. So I would hang one, if I had a duplicate of something, I would hang one of that item, and then the others I would pack away into, a bin of some sort. And so I had all these duplicates, and I had a tracking system to help me keep track of, what I sold, and then, I would replace that item and so forth and so on. But the point I want to make is that it seemed like an overwhelming amount of extra stuff. Actually, now that I think about it, it was 3 full bins plus a huge box full. 3 bins plus a huge box. So maybe 3.5 bins worth of stuff. A lot of duplicates. And guess what? Now, 3 months in, and I've ordered tons of stuff since then. And in some of those shipments, I get duplicates. It happens. It's just the nature of the business. It happens. But guess what? In 3 months' time, I can look around at my racks. I'm looking at them right now, and I can tell you, 1, I can barely spot anything that I actually had in my initial inventory, and 2, all of those duplicates have sold. They're gone. I'm literally down to half of 1 bin of duplicate items. That's it. And most of those are not from my initial inventory. They're from stuff that I've gotten since then. So literally, whether you get 1 duplicate of something or 5 duplicates of that one item and you have 6 pieces that are identical to each other, guess what? I promise you, they will all sell. It is not a bad thing at all. There are so many ways you can market those duplicates to sell together. There are ways that you can just set them aside so they're out of sight, out of mind, and then replenish your inventory, which is kind of nice because sometimes, if I sell a few things, there's been a couple of times where I've gone into my racks and I keep looking over because I'm looking at all my beautiful clothes sitting next to me. I look over, my racks and I'll say like, oh man, I'm getting low on my small classic tees, let's say. And then I go into my duplicate bin and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. I sold 3 or 4 of these that are duplicates and I put them back on my racks and now all of a sudden I have more smalls again. So duplicates are not a bad thing at all. It's just like kind of your own little warehouse of back orders that you can replenish your inventory with. It's fantastic. So don't be turned off or afraid of those duplicates, or for that matter, prints that you don't necessarily love. So you will definitely get, as a consultant, and especially in the beginning, as a shopper, most of us were shopping for LuLaRoe before we became sellers of LuLaRoe. And so as a shopper, we get to look for the pieces we want and we find what we want and we buy those pieces and they come to us and we love them, right? As a consultant, it's a little different. So I get to order my styles that I want and my sizes that I want. And because of the limited prints that LuLaRoe does with every piece, I don't get to choose what prints come to me. Whatever I get is what I get. And it's like Christmas every time a box arrives. It's so exciting every time to see what gets sent to me. But that being said, there's plenty of times I've opened up a shipment and I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I would never wear this print in a million trillion years. And then guess what happens? That print ends up being a unicorn print. Like, I'm the worst unicorn caller. Not the worst. I've called a few pretty well. But there are prints that I'm like, I don't think anyone would ever want to wear this. Raccoons on a skirt? Like, that was a print that I got I got a raccoon azure, and I was like, who's going to wear raccoons on a skirt? Like, I don't get it. I mean, okay, I don't get it, but okay. And even when I got it, I was like, you know what? Everything sells, and it really does. So I put it on my rack, and I said, all right, somebody's going to buy this. Tell me if it didn't happen the very next day, the first time I showed that skirt on Periscope, somebody snagged it up. And not just one person, I only had one, but like 5 people tried to claim it. Who knew? And apparently the raccoons are a unicorn thing now. So you just don't know. Everything is someone's unicorn. Everything is. So if you don't like a print, or you feel like you got some boring colors, or, you know, some prints that just aren't going to ever sell, please believe me, they will all sell. All of it. It will all sell. I promise you that. And it's about your attitude. So one thing I learned over the past few months doing this is that I have a choice. I can either open up a box and look into that box and say, great, this is what I have to work with, or I can open that box and look into that box and say, oh man, I can pair these pieces up with so many pieces I already have and create the most amazing outfits, and I have so many options now, and this is so fantastic, and I can't wait to see who gets all this stuff. It really is just a matter of perspective. It really is. So, you know, just keep that in mind. Keep in mind that this stuff really does sell itself. You have to put work into it, but the clothes are amazing, and our design team is brilliant. And I'm not a designer. I am slowly becoming a stylist, and I'm loving it, but I am not a designer. And so when certain prints come and I don't love them, it's okay, because somebody's going to love them, and I'm going to show that piece with just as much enthusiasm and just as much excitement about it as I would a piece that I would want to put in my own closet, because everyone's going to find something that they love, and all of that stuff will come off your racks. There are pieces that I thought would never leave my racks that sold immediately, and then there are pieces that I see that I think, oh my gosh, I'm not even going to take a picture of this, because as soon as I show it in a live sale, it's going to sell. And it stays on my rack for weeks and weeks. So you just don't know. It all sells. Legitimately, it all sells. So don't be afraid of those duplicates. Don't be bummed out by prints you don't love or multiples of a certain print. Don't be bummed out by it. It's really okay. I promise you. I know I'm not like a huge veteran here, but 3 months in, I can tell you, it will all sell. Your inventory will all turn over. It's just a matter of getting it in front of people's eyes. That's all you have to do. We have a simple business. It's not always the easiest. It's hard work, but it's simple. You just put the stuff in front of people's eyes, and if you do that enough, somebody's going to see something that they love, and they're going to buy it from you, I promise. Okay, so enough about that. Let's talk a little bit. Did I mention I have notes? I have notes. Let's talk a little bit about your sales in the very beginning. So these first 3 months, I heard it being said before, and if you've watched other videos about selling LuLaRoe, you've probably heard this as well. But it's so true. Your sales are going to be a direct reflection. How much you sell in the beginning is going to be a direct reflection of 3 things. How much inventory you have, how much time you have to put into this business, and what you do with that time in terms of effort, what kind of effort you put into this business. So let's talk about inventory. When I started out, I could not afford to do more than the initial amount of inventory. So I started out with about 330 pieces of inventory. I did add on a few. So I got an initial package of inventory, and then I added on a few Madison skirts, but just a few, not like a full selection of them. But I still started out with about 330 pieces of inventory. And so that was like the bare minimum, right? So a friend of mine, one of my other consultant sisters on my team, she crunched the numbers actually today and put this up in our group, in our Rockstars group. And she was saying that as a new consultant, if you start out with about 300 to 350 pieces of inventory, and let's say you sell all of it in the first month, every single piece, which, if I'm being honest with you, is nearly impossible if you're not replacing your inventory. So if you just start out with that much and then you're just waiting to see what you sell that first month, let's say, the chances of you selling every single thing that you got in your initial inventory is slim to none. But let's say you're that person, that 1 in a million that does it, and you sell everything. The most retail-wise, with our retail price points, the most you're going to see in sales from that is around $10,000 to $11,000. Done, out the door. So I share that with you to say this. When you see women, I want to encourage you in this way, because if you've watched my other videos, you know that I'm not real big on sharing my own personal numbers, my sales numbers with you guys. And it's not because they're terrible, because I don't think they are at all. And it's not because I just don't want to brag. It's not that really, as much as it's that I want to always reiterate to you guys that we all have our own individual experiences, and our circumstances are going to vary drastically, and that does all affect our sales as well. So when you see somebody who says, in my first month I sold $15,000, $20,000, whatever, $12,000 even, keep in mind that even the ability to do that, it's impossible to do that without having more than the initial inventory in the beginning. So most of the time, those women have started out with a larger inventory. So when you get your initial inventory package, that's between 300 and 350 pieces, you can immediately start adding to that before that stuff even arrives. You can immediately start ordering more stuff, more styles, more sizes, you know, whatever you want. And so a lot of women do, you know, they have the money to invest. They want this to be, you know, their business that they're starting out strong with. And so they invest extra money into building their inventory right away. And that, I'm telling you, does make a difference with your sales. So if you can do that, I would recommend doing it. I'm telling you, the stuff will sell. You're still not risking any more because, you know, I mean, a little bit more, but I mean, it's still such a small risk. God forbid nothing sells, which it will. It absolutely will. You can return it to home office for a small restocking fee. You can sell it off at wholesale. You know, you're not going to lose a ton of money off of investing into your inventory in the beginning if it doesn't sell. But what I will say is that it will sell. It sells. 100% it sells. So starting out with more in the beginning is going to help those sales in the beginning boost. If you can't start out with extra inventory beyond your initial package. So let's say you've decided to do this. The initial investment is somewhere between $6,000 and $8,000. And let's say that's all you have that you can afford to invest. That's okay. That's all I had. I invested about $7,500 when all was said and done into my initial inventory plus all my supplies that I needed to get off the ground running. So $7,500, and that was it. Like, that's all we had. That's all I could afford to do. We didn't want to go into debt. I'm not saying not to. I'm not saying don't get a credit card to do this, but just for us with our history and everything, we just didn't want to do that. So we used what we had, and I had to start with that. And I can tell you my first month sales were tremendous given the amount of inventory I had. But that leads me into our next piece of this, is that your work, the amount of time you invest and the effort you put into this is going to drastically affect what kind of sales you do in the beginning. So if you only have 350 pieces, and I say only, that's a lot, but if you have 350 pieces and you're only investing 2 hours a day into this business, chances are your first month sales are not going to be that high. Honestly, they're not. You have to hustle. You have to put your heart and soul, blood, sweat, and tears into getting this business off the ground if you want to see that upward swing and that momentum right out of the gate. And then my encouragement to you though is, as soon as you start hustling and you start seeing those sales, reinvest as much as you possibly can into building that inventory up. So even if you don't have the money in the beginning, if you don't have to pay yourself a salary right off the bat, my recommendation to you is not to. Use all of those sales, use all of that money to just reinvest back into your business. Don't take a cut until you're at a place where you really have a good selection of inventory, and that's going to look different for everyone. So I started out around 330 pieces. I'm at around 500 pieces now. My goal by the end of this year is to get to 1,000 pieces. We'll see how that goes. I'm pretty sure I can do it. You know, every month it's easier and easier because I'm selling more and more each month. So I think I'm going to get there. But that being said, you know, invest as much as you can back into your inventory. I do pay myself a salary because I did quit my job right away. And I'm paying myself, you know, more actually than what I was making at that job, which is awesome. But that has slowed down my reinvestment. But I'm still taking a portion of every sale that I do and not only reordering what I sold, so that's just replacing, but I'm also adding on to that and adding extra pieces to my inventory. And that's really important. That is where you're going to see success. That's where I've seen success. I definitely noticed a difference when I started carrying more than, you know, 3 or 4 small Randys at a time. You know, all of a sudden when I went from 4 small Randys to choose from to 10 small Randys to choose from, guess what? People were shopping my small Randys more because there was a better selection for them to choose from. So it's definitely worth doing, and build deep, not wide. So before you start adding on styles, make sure you're adding on pieces to the styles that you already have. So again, you know, shoot for 10 in every size instead of 4 or 5 in every size. And once you get there, then you can start adding on styles, and that'll be exciting as well. But going deeper is definitely the smarter way to go. It'll make a huge impact in your business. Okay, so then the last thing I wanted to talk about is your good days and your bad days. So for me, these past 3 months, I've had definitely some rough days, but I can tell you honestly, the good days have far outweighed the bad days. Far outweighed the bad days. So, there's days when I am just fully exhausted and I feel like I can't do one more thing and I feel like I've failed and I have a terrible sale maybe, and I feel like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. Why did I get into this business? Obviously, I don't know what I'm doing. But man, those days that are great days are really great days. And they make it all worthwhile. And they're a reminder that I did get into this for the right reasons and that I am good at this. That's crazy to even be able to say. Like, there are days that show me with what I'm doing and what I accomplish that I'm good at this, that I'm making good choices, that I'm learning and growing and tweaking and, through trial and error, I'm building my business, and it's exciting. It's so exciting, so encouraging. And not only am I building my business, but I have this amazing team of women now that have asked me to help them with their business, asked me to sponsor them. And they're now all on board, all but 2 of them. I have 13 directs that I've sponsored, and all but 2 of them have onboarded now, and they're, selling, and they're doing great. It's so exciting. Like, that's almost more exciting than my own sales to me, because it's just so awesome to see them, coming out and killing their businesses. That's awesome. But it's really such a rewarding thing. And so when you have those rough days, and you will, like, I'm telling you this because, in the beginning, you're going to have, especially with those sleepless nights and, the stress of learning everything and, making mistakes, because mistakes are going to happen. And you just have to learn to give yourself a little grace and know that, one of my upline sponsors, Kendra Pratt, in fact, she says there's no skirt emergency. I've heard her say that several times, and it's so true. And I think she got it from someone else. But it's so true. There's no such thing as a skirt emergency. Like, everything will work out, even if you have to credit somebody back, something they paid you because you gave them the wrong item, or give them, credit to shop with you in the future to make up for a mistake that you made, or, whatever the case is. If you held a sale and nobody bought anything from you, it's okay. It's really okay. And in those moments, you just have to kind of chalk it up to a learning experience and learn from it. Take what happened, look at it, reevaluate, and say, okay, what can I do different next time? What can I do to not make these mistakes again? What can I do to have a better sale next time? And try new things until something works. And eventually, it will all fall into place and things will start clicking. And even as you go on, I mean, I'm only 3 months in, but even 3 months later, I'm still making mistakes. I'm still like, oh man, I can't believe I just did that. I should know better. And in those moments, I just have to laugh at myself and be like, all right, Jen Herron, pick it up. Pick yourself up. Get off the ground. Get back on the horse. Keep going. Learn from those mistakes. So I just encourage you, like I said before, make sure you're building relationships with your teammates, because in those days that are harder, you're going to need a support system that understands where you're coming from. And on those really great days, enjoy those moments. Enjoy them. Pat yourself on the back. Tell yourself that you're doing a great job. Reward yourself. Go to lunch with a friend or by yourself or whatever. Go to lunch and order something expensive and say, I deserve this. I have earned this. Like, it's so nice to reward yourself and say, like, man, I hit this goal, or I did this unexpected thing that worked out so well, or whatever, and I deserve to, like, reward myself a little bit. Take that unicorn off your rack. I'm not telling you to always do that, but I'm just saying, like, once in a while, if you have a piece that you're in love with and, you're having a really good week or whatever, like, reward yourself. Do something for yourself that's going to make you feel good about yourself, and enjoy those moments, embrace those moments, because that will get you through the tough days for sure. And they become lesser and lesser. So in the beginning, the good outweighed the bad for sure. But in the beginning, it was still plenty of days where I was like struggling. And now, man, like, I'm sleeping again. I'm eating again. I'm, doing things for myself. I'm spending time with my husband. I'm, planning trips to see friends and all kinds of fun stuff. And, those bad days are fewer and far between. And when they do come about, maybe it's just like a bad hour instead of a bad day, because there's so much else positive going on that I can't possibly be down for the whole day over one little mistake or one little bad sale. I just have to keep going and be excited about everything else that's happening. So yeah, that has been that's a very abstract explanation of my first 3 months. But to sum it all up, it's been amazing. I've made great sales. I'm growing and learning every day. I haven't hit the goals that I originally planned for myself, but I've also superseded other goals that I set the bar lower than I thought I should. Or, I set a bar and I said, here's where I think I'll be. And now 3 months in, I'm far past that. I said that in the beginning, I said I didn't even want to build a team. And then I had a few people ask me to sponsor them. And so I was like, okay, maybe I want to do this team thing. And then I said, I think when I started, I said I wanted to become a trainer, which means that you have 10 active directs, 10 active consultants that you've sponsored that are selling. So I said I wanted to become a trainer by the end of this year. And I just became a trainer this past week. So that's crazy. Like, there's months left in this year. And man, I just can't imagine. I can't believe that, that goal was, I way overshot or undershot that goal. How do you say that? Overshot? Undershot? I don't know. But there's other goals, like my sales goals, where I'm not selling as much as I thought I would in the very beginning. But that doesn't mean I'm not paying myself an income. And that doesn't mean that I'm not seeing increase in my sales. I definitely am. So that's super exciting. Like, I'm building something and it's exciting to see it built. And if I'm not hitting my goals, I'm okay with that, because that just means that I have room to grow and I can keep tweaking and keep growing. And I know I'm going to get there eventually. So yeah, I hope some of this has been helpful. I hope it's been more than just hearing me ramble on. I hope it's been encouraging in some way, or that there's been something I've mentioned that, you can resonate with. And if you're thinking about doing this business, if you're thinking about becoming a consultant and, you're like, yeah, I think I want to take the plunge. Hopefully this video has been a good depiction of what you can expect in your first couple of months. I want to be honest about it. I don't want it to just be, roses and unicorns, although there's plenty of roses and unicorns in the mix. But I want to, share the good and the bad with you, and to let you know that there's going to be days when you struggle, but it's so worth it. I've never experienced anything in my life as rewarding as this business has been for me. It's so worth it. And I would so encourage you to do it. Not just for the financial gain, but just for the culture that LuLaRoe creates, and for the relationships that you'll build, and for the impact that you'll make on other women. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. If you want to talk about that, if you want to chat about, becoming a consultant, if you have questions or you're looking for a sponsor, I have an amazing team of women now who are building their own teams. So I can either chat with you myself or help connect you to one of my directs that I've sponsored. The cool thing about that is that you're still part of my team. So if you're sponsored by one of my directs, then you get all of their attention and love and care. And then on top of that, you get me as your grandma. And that way you get all of my trainings that I do with my team that you don't see here on YouTube, and team meetings that we do weekly, and, all kinds of cool stuff. Cool stuff. You still get to be part of my team. So it's not that I'm not taking directs right now. I am still taking directs, but I also am really excited about watching my team grow and helping them build up their businesses as well. And some of them are going to be way better leaders than me. Some of them already are probably better leaders than I am, so I'm excited to see what's ahead for all of them. So I'll put my information in the info section below this video, so feel free to reach out to me by email or over Facebook Messenger. I'm on Facebook more than anything, so that's probably the fastest way to reach me, and I'll look forward to chatting with you and answering your questions. And thank you so much for watching this. To all my subscribers, thank you guys so much. I can't believe I have so many subscribers. I just saw that for the first time not too long ago. It's amazing. So thank you guys for even wanting to watch me and hang out with me every time I'm on here. I so appreciate you. Hopefully we'll see each other in the near future in one of my sales. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and best of luck wherever you are on this journey. Best of luck to you in your business as well.